In the last episode, we laid out the paradox most spiritual seekers carry without examining, the tension between reincarnation and non-duality. If you believe something continues after death, and you're also drawn to teachings that say there's no separate self, you're holding two ideas that seem to contradict each other. In this episode, we're going to take a deep dive into the non-dual side of the equation. Here's what we're after today. What does non-duality actually point to? Not a philosophy, but as a lived recognition. And how does that reframe everything we think we know about death, continuity, and what, if anything, reincarnate? Join us now for Higher Reality at the Edge of Understanding. A number of people in different forms, and it comes out of a long tradition from India, which we can get into more in a little bit, but I do want to cover a couple things, the misconceptions about it, because actually there's quite a lot of activity around this topic online. And and most of it is misinformation. It's not accurate.
Really?
Like the first is that it's a belief system. It's not a belief system at all. A belief system requires that you believe in whatever it is that's going on, and
for it to be so.
Yeah. And the opposite is so.
That's like believing in electricity.
Yeah,
right. Oxygen.
You can have a direct experience of it. Just touch the wire.
Yeah, really.
Oh, I lost my.
Or stick a pocket knife into a socket like I did when I was a kid standing in the grass.
I stuck keys in an outlet.
Did you? Well, we're both idiots.
Yeah. I think I fried whatever I had left. And I was at 2 years old.
Good start to life.
Yeah. So it's also not nihilism. That's another big one, because it's not a vacuum. It's not saying nothing exists and nothing matters. People get into that, and it relates to this spiritual bypassing. Well, I don't need to do anything anyway because it's all being done. Et cetera, et cetera. So we know kind of those experiences. What, if anything, is your experience with the non-dual teachings? Either one of you.
Well, what you were just talking about, I think a lot of the non-dual teachings, especially the ones that really step into spiritual bypassing as well, even though they may not use that term, step away from just living life and enjoying life. If you think that nothing's really there and nothing really matters, especially in times of a trauma or something, you just don't experience it so you can move on through it if you believe nothing matters. And I think that does a lot of harm, not only to society as a whole, but to you as an individual, to not deal with what's happening in life because you have this idea that nothing matters and nothing's real and it's all some sort of cosmic pretend. You're not in life, and so how are you going to enjoy this life if you're not in it and not experiencing it and just kind of floating through this idea that nothing matters and nothing is happening, and it's all an illusion in that it's a hallucination of some sort.
I learned it under the concept or the title oneness. That's where it started for me.
Okay.
And so my thoughts, and I think that's more of a positive is not my favorite word, but a positive way to look at it, where being non-dualistic kind of tends to say, well, there's dualism, but I'm in a place where it doesn't exist, which is another silly way to look at it.
Yeah.
So to me, it's really about just waking up to what already is, that we live in a world that we're creating. We live in a world where what we do to another has a direct impact on us. And what I call that is karma. Most people think karma is about punishment. It's not. It's about
Right.
experiencing the opposite of what you put out. Whatever you express into life, your karma is the experience of that back toward you. It's like the mirror.
The mirror.
And
yeah.
to me, that speaks of oneness. You know, you're getting the entire experience. You express, you experience, and they both have the same element within them. And that's what we're doing in this three-dimensional world, is experiencing ourselves through everybody else. And when we go against somebody, when we make them wrong or bad or ugly or anything else, really we're laying that on ourselves. And I think that's one of the great benefits of understanding oneness or non-dualism, is that it helps us balance everything and not be so aggressive into the world to where it's going to impact our lives and our sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the other thing about listening to you that reminds me that this is a difficult topic, because we have a language which is dualistic. And so when we're talking about this, we're talking about it from that perspective of, oh, I, and then there's this, which is a dualistic communication.
And how do you get around that, Lawrence?
Yeah, I don't know that you can.
I don't think you can either. And there's another element that goes right with that, and it's called ego.
Yeah. Wait, what?
And truly, we need ego to live in this three-dimensional world, to have this be our experience. If we don't,
no, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so.
I think that ego
that?
is one of the biggest things that we can abuse in our human experience. But I think
that
ego is that looks at the other and sees that separation and tells us about it. And if we didn't have that, we would be like the newborn baby who thinks it's their mother. And
well, I don't see it that way. I see the ego as being the devil in different clothes. It's basically it argues with everything, no matter what it is. Instead of a direct, instead of this object-subject relationship, which is what the ego is all about, the non-duality is saying you are all of it, everything, no matter what. And the ego keeps questioning that very thing.
I agree. So it does.
Until it quiets itself, if it's possible to quiet, I don't know, because mine doesn't seem to be so easy to quiet. It goes on, doubting everything or putting up new things for me to try to understand, and on and on. And in the direct experience of the oneness, at least in my experience so far, the ego goes into the background or disappears, because I'm no longer putting my awareness on it. And again, if I'm putting my awareness on it, that indicates a separateness. But to say that ego for me has been the issue that I've had with non-duality, because every time I sit to say meditate or do something like that, the mind just races around and says, you're doing a great job. And the next minute is gone, you're just lazy. So
you're right. That's ego. You're absolutely right.
So are you equating ego with monkey mind and that kind of idea? Okay.
Yeah.
So
I see all of that. I think you're absolutely right, Lawrence. However, if we didn't have that ego to point us to separation, I don't know how we function in this physical world. I think it gets out of control. I think everybody's gets out of control. And then you learn to manage it. You learn to say, no, I'm not going there, even though that's what you're suggesting is there's something wrong here, or something is dangerous, or sometimes it's intuition, sometimes it's ego. So it's our job to be able to decipher between and not fall prey to the ego. Yet I don't know how you live in this physical universe without some level of experiencing the separateness of a three-dimensional world. Even if we don't give it power over us, it's still there.
Yeah. Jay, what do you think?
Well, I'm just thinking about the difference in the word separation versus individualization. That in the non-duality, so we're talking about this oneness that you were talking about, John, and in the oneness we individualize a version of this oneness that we all enjoy, that we all are a part of. So it doesn't make us separate, because the oneness that you could say we are separate from each other is the ego. When you feel like you're separate from, if I feel like I'm separate from you and separate from Lawrence, it just doesn't feel true to me.
Here's the thing that works for me. And I'm sure Lawrence will be right back. Maybe
There
we're
he
still.
is. Just wanted to go
There you go. We just
outside.
changed positions. There we go. Doing a little musical chairs.
Wow.
Is that I don't think I'm separate from you. I think
Right.
that my body is separate from your body.
Right.
And that still happens at the level of ego.
But that's a belief.
That my body is separate from your body?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a belief.
Yeah, so what's your direct experience, as opposed to what is your belief that you learned as a child that you were separate from everybody else? When you were 2 years old, you didn't have that experience. Right? Or maybe it was 1 year old, because now 2-year-olds are smarter than
They're
I am.
pretty smart, yeah. And especially on a computer.
Yeah.
Well, it's a semantics, though, with the physical self versus the oneness or spiritual self.
Well, let me get into the science a little bit.
Okay.
So the quantum physics has really given us a new perspective and a new doorway into this concept of oneness. Because when we look at, for example, atoms and particles and all that, we before the turn of the 20th century, we used to think all these things were separate. And as we've gotten more and more into what this universe is made out of, we've come from that experience to what we call the field theory. And Einstein was one of the big proponents of it. This quantum field is like what the Hopi Indians used to say, grandmother spider woman wove this web, which became the universe.
Right.
Well,
creation stories.
We all are in this field, and everything is a field in the field. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And that says there isn't anything that's outside of this field. It's all different vibrations of that single field. So from the science perspective, it's saying, in essence, what non-duality has been saying for 4,000 years, is that we are all one, but our mental structure deals with things as subject-object. The beauty of that is this. The beauty of that is anything I can perceive, I must not be, right? Because there must be a perceiver. So I can perceive my body, so I'm not my body. And I can perceive my mind and its discussions and all. And so who's listening? So I must not be that. So as I keep going back further and further, I come to a point of, well, then who am I? And that's the question. And that's what non-duality is asking, I think. Does that make any sense?
Huh. There's a little bit of that.
Did I just kill the conversation?
No, I was just giving Jay a chance to.
There's a little bit of
that
supposed Rumi quote about not a drop in the ocean. You're the ocean in a drop.
I like that. Yeah, that's a good one.
Because you're your own self. You're all of the universe. You are all of the universe, and all of the universe is within you at the same time.
Yeah, Trower taught that.
Trower taught that too.
He said that the presence of an infinite means that it must be present not only everywhere, but it must be present everywhere in its entirety.
Yeah.
And that's what we're dealing with here, is that even though there's individuation, it's still the entirety at every point, meaning that I am all of God, you are all of God.
Yeah.
And when we start to understand that and live our lives that way, we find peace because we won't go to war. We won't argue.
Right.
We won't find fault, so it gets rid of judgment. I think that's one of the basic things that I get from this whole idea of oneness is that how can I judge? And when I counsel people, I tell, and they're angry with somebody, I tell them, do you know that one is the same presence of the divine that you are? And that when you blame them and when you criticize them and when you find all this fault in them, it's like saying God's stupid, God's an idiot, God's, and just put the name God on all of that and see how it feels.
Yes.
And it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. So if you can just grasp this idea of oneness or non-dualism in a way that you can use it to function in your life, it takes all of those trappings away. If you can live that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think as people get separated from their oneness, whether it's because of allowing life to take over or the ego, as we were talking about earlier, when you get disconnected from that oneness, or from, if you want to use the word God or the divine that is within you, your ocean that is part of all of the drop, that's when violence and hate and etc. starts really showing up, because you start thinking of yourself as totally separate.
Yeah.
I was looking up something about the difference between all of us, just in the essence of life, in our DNA. And I was reading that 99.9% of our DNA is exactly the same, human to human. And then only 0.1% is different. And that 50% of our DNA we share with bananas.
Yep.
Sure. Okay, well, that really helps.
Closer to like other primates.
Well, but
it's scary how close we are to the
chimps and bonobos. Yeah, those primates. We are 99%
I know,
same
it's like
in DNA.
Bizarre. Right.
So if you take the word DNA and you extrapolate that to a non-duality thought, then it's like, well, you're not that much different than I am. No matter the looks, the upbringing, or anything like that, just in the mechanics of putting this body together versus your body together, there's infinitesimal difference.
I think we need to use that analogy with some of our politicians. You're no different than a banana.
For sure. Some of them.
I bet somebody will start the banana party.
And some of them seem to act like that too. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we all agree that whatever dualistic thinking, it works against us. If we separate things enough, if we try to say there's a difference between mind and matter, or God and creation, that all of that holds us at bay from seeing a greater truth, that there is this likeness in all of creation. We're all part of the fabric of this physical universe, and to try to see us as separate from those things to a great degree, other than physically trying to get around and trying to function. Beyond that, it gets in our way. So the task is always, in fact, that's an argument that I've made with people about when I hear that white people are automatically racist.
No.
And my first thought is, well, in my faith, I believe that every human being is the presence of the divine, is God. Doesn't matter what color they are, doesn't matter what culture they came from. They're the presence of the divine. Where's there room for racism in that thought?
And also even the people who have very negative opinions in life or are racist, they are also the essence of God.
They are absolutely are. They just don't know it.
They don't
That's
know
the
it.
difference. They don't know it.
They
And
don't
that's
use
why
it
if
very
we as
well.
a species evolve into a place of knowing it,
Yeah.
we're going to evolve to a great place. And those prophecies and revelations in the Christian Bible will probably come true, because there will be peace, there will be understanding, there will be cooperation, which is what still eludes us as a species.
And a lot of times, a lot of negativity in the world in different forms show up first to click into the realization of, wait a minute, this is not going to work.
Yeah.
There's going to end up being nobody. And then the realization comes, well, we're all one. Let's figure this out in a peaceful way. And then
let's take it also into the direction that we did in the first episode, which was about reincarnation. Is the question is, what is it that reincarnates? Mm-hmm. So we talk about it in terms of there's a something after we die that still exists, and that something comes back with a new body in a new form and a new mind. And so the question, what is it that's reincarnating? And especially in light of non-duality, is there something that's reincarnating?
Good question, which we're only going to speculate on. We're not going to get the answer. and to use our teacher, our founder, as an example, Holmes in the Declaration of Principles says that the individual soul forever and ever expands.
Yeah.
How do you do that if truly a non-dualistic thing where the drop goes back into the ocean and is no longer in that form? How do you do both? I haven't figured that one out yet.
I think we have to give some credence to the idea that our language is never going to be able to help us in these deeper issues.
Yeah, because if you use the scientific language, you're going to speak about it in one way. If you go into a philosophical, spiritual language, you're going to speak about it another way.
Yes, but we always pray that science catches up.
And it
always does.
Has.
It seems to. Hasn't in every way, but it seems to be moving in that direction.
Yeah.
I think something that all can agree upon, both philosophically, spiritually, and scientifically, is what Einstein said, what Tesla said, what many others said, that it's just all energy.
It is, but I reject the idea that the divine is energy. Energy is at the point of effect because it's a physical thing. It has to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which goes to the idea that all of this is an illusion. It's an illusion, not that it doesn't exist, but it's an illusion that we can't understand it because we have five senses, and the five senses are designed to filter out 99.9% of everything in the experiential world.
From conscious awareness, but from a more subjective awareness, it's all there. It's all collected.
Yeah, doesn't matter because most people don't go there.
Well, that's true.
That's true.
But what I'm suggesting, it remains in the mind of God, whether we ever harvest it again or not.
And I want to see what that mind of God is.
Well,
He doesn't ask much, does he, Jay?
some believe that with a certain amount of meditative work, you can.
Well,
Because you will click into it, so to speak, on a purposeful way, and allow it to inform you, and thus in that information you are seeing the quote unquote mind of God.
Yeah, quote unquote.
Quote unquote.
Well, yeah, again we get back into belief systems. So
And I have no thought that I can understand the mind of God, that I can understand the divine completely.
No,
Because I can't. I'm right now engaged in this thing called a human life on planet Earth. That doesn't mean that I am my body. It doesn't mean I'm my mind, but I am the creative force, or at least the initiator of the creation of my life. And that means that I'm not playing in this physical world, that my true self exists at some other dimension or some other way beyond this three-dimensional world that is all set up for us to have, for it to reflect our five senses, for us to use our ego, which we abuse mostly. But I want to just go back to the ego for a second and say that it's a tool, and if we learn how to manage it, it helps us get through the thing called being human. It does not help us be spiritual. It does not help us awaken to our spiritual nature. Ego doesn't do that at all. Anybody that thinks it does is missing the point. But
so again, the idea of reincarnation and something is traveling or transmigrating through time and space, and in science we know that time and space are also an illusion that's created. So are we propagating something? Is there something within us that's moving and being? And I'm wondering if, since the body drops away, it's clearly not the body that's moved into the next experience. And the mind, at some point in my death experience, the mind goes away and there's only a direct experience of everything. What is this idea of reincarnation? Where would it have come from?
Well, you see, the mind goes away, and I would imagine the individual mind, our conscious mind of this lifetime, may go away. For some, there's been evidence that some carry it forward, but the greater reality to me is Holmes says God is mind. So that mind of God, that wholeness of mind, does not go away. It's still collecting and doing what it does and being the impetus of creation. It's all still there. So
of course,
can you go from one body to another body and be the same as before? I think some of our illustrations of that, like I am a drop of water in the ocean, or I'm a wave in the ocean, or I'm a whirlpool, or whatever, are all limiting. They all hold us at a physical understanding of a spiritual context, and it's not going to get us where we need to go with that. So do we experience multiple lives with the same consciousness, same base consciousness? I don't know.
To some extent, we talked about this in the first episode, which is the experience of the little boy who was a movie actor who remembered all of these things. And then there's another one who remembered being a fighter pilot in World War II, and they proved all the things he said were accurate. Therefore, that being some evidence, we would say, oh yeah, so that individual that was the fighter pilot came back into this body and is here for who knows what reason. But does that not prove reincarnation is a reality?
It certainly suggests it.
We lost Jay now.
Well, we lost you for a little while. You came back. Let's hope Jay comes back. I don't think you insulted him in any way there. I was listening. There he is.
I don't know what happened, but there I am.
Obviously, it's musical chairs.
It's musical
chairs. Internet.
Let me ask you something about the mind, because from talking to you about your experience and reading about other people's near-death experience, a lot of them, probably not all of them, but a lot of them talk about seeing relatives who have already left this earth. So where is that memory coming from? Where is that recognition coming from? And is it because it is a near-death experience versus a death experience that you see these quote-unquote people?
Well, I don't think you can. I don't think I can speak from a true death experience, or it wouldn't have been a true death experience.
That's true. You wouldn't be here to talk about it.
But that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
You were saying the mind goes away. When does that technically happen? When it's a true death, or because many people talk about, I saw my mother, I saw my grand, whatever, and they told me to go back, or they whatever.
So I think the experience when you pass, the first thing that happens is you become an observer. You observe a body, you observe the scene of what's going on, like I did. And then from the observer, there's this kind of absolute expansiveness that has no boundaries. So there's no personalization of anything. There's this expansiveness which is observing, and that awareness then interacts with, like I interacted with all these different scenes of past lives. The interaction was simply, I'm observing all those different things that quote unquote were me, which is an interpretation after I got back, not during. And then the people idea, relatives and so on, is a direct experience. And I would come back to the understanding in various Eastern traditions that there are different planes of existence. So there is this plane, the physical plane, then there's an astral plane. And when we leave this one, we move into the astral plane, which is all light bodies. So to me, the experience in the astral plane it's very, very similar to this experience, except that there's no physicality to it. There's no, if you live in a house in the astral plane, it's made of light, not made of what we would call substance.
You know how they describe that in the Eastern philosophies are same, only different.
Right. Yeah, I have that problem too. So I think from my experience of passing over, when you become boundless, it gives you a complete different mindset as to who you are, because that mind and body have gone away, and all the personal things related to it are now a subset somewhere else. And then you move back to that experience. Like mine, coming back was the difficult part, in the fact that when you're unlimited, when there's no boundaries, and you look at coming back into a body, it makes no sense to this mind which is back again going, wait, I want that. I don't want this.
And that's the common denominator in every past life experience, that nobody wants to come back.
Right.
I've never heard a story of a past life experience where they didn't go, no, I don't want to go back.
Yeah.
So living the limitless becomes more attractive than living the finite.
Oh, it's got to feel wonderful. Yet, if reincarnation is so, we keep choosing to come back here, because there must be things you can do here that in that limited way of being, you can't. Maybe it's just so peaceful and beautiful that there's nothing to grapple with over there.
I do think that there are people that have passed that have the experience of the loss of somebody or the loss of a group or some form of loss that pulls back into this experience.
Mhm.
It pulls the soul, the whatever, back
you want
into
to
the experience. And I know from my own, I don't remember making a decision to come back, and yet I've explained it in many ways over time that, yeah, I made the decision to come back. I don't know at this point in time. What I do know is there seemed to be something that was pulling. And that's the moment at which I recognized, now I'm seeing the scene of this body on the couch, dead,
Yeah.
and it's coming back to life at that instant that I came into it.
Interesting that you call it pulling and not pushing, because it would be easier to say you have to go back. Some voice says you have to go back, and that they push you back into your body somehow,
Right.
or connect you to your body. But it's a pull. It was for you. It was a pull experience.
It was, yeah.
Interesting.
It was pulling.
That's so interesting, because it makes me think like we're talking about our humanness even in the other dimension of life, because you're making a choice, so something is pulling you, and so that is like the human mind, the human ego talking about it, or a sense of loss in the soul, for lack of a better term. Those are so much human concepts.
Well, that's the dualistic language that we have, which is the only way we can explain things that are unexplainable. I couldn't explain it. In fact, for at least a year after, I wouldn't allow anybody to ask me any questions about it because I didn't know how to explain any of it. It actually helped me when I had a group in Marin County at part of the church, and we had an NDE meeting.
Oh, okay.
How many people were in that group?
About 10.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The other day when I was at Unity, or a couple of weeks ago, and I asked how many of you have had a past life, a third of the hands went up.
A third of the hands.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it turns out there are a lot of people that have had this. The national organization, when I went to my brother-in-law's funeral, somebody came out and said, I really loved your poem that you read. And I said, and who are you? And we spoke a little bit. Well, I just got back from the Chicago where they had the NDE conference with 8,000 people. 8,000 people.
Wow.
Holy moly.
Well, so many books.
I wouldn't be allowed to go to that. No, because I'm having a near life experience right now.
You're out.
I'm out, really.
That way.
Yeah. And they validate your ticket how?
By telling you how incredible you are. You feel validated.
How do you prove that? What's the criteria of membership?
But I think in that meeting, people struggled with how to explain what was going on, and I think there was a psychiatrist who was there who had this experience, who said it was a dissociative experience. That's how he would characterize it. And I understand that. That makes sense, and it's using his vocabulary, and it is. And in a sense, that's what the non-duality really is. It's dissociative. We come to the observer, the witness, which is all there is, and everything else is disassociated at that point. It doesn't mean that we're not making decisions or living in the world and doing all the things we did before. But now we're aware 100% of the time of that which is taking place. And then the other part of that, when I mentioned the astral plane, there's the astral plane, then there's the causal plane, then there's the the higher spiritual planes, and so on in the various traditions, in the Hindu traditions at least, where all of that is part of this, quote, illusion, and that the understanding in this experience, if we have this experience, which then becomes the dissociative aware experience, you no longer have to go through all those various planes, because at some point, the recognition, let me say it this way, the recognition of oneness becomes the very experience that you are. And so everything else then, like the dream, when you wake up, the dream simply goes away and you're back in the awareness. And I think the dream is probably the best way of explaining any of this, is that a dream doesn't need a beginning and an ending. It doesn't have that. You just drop right into it.
Yes.
And then the you that you were, Larry DeRusha, Lawrence DeRusha is not in the dream. Lawrence DeRusha is the awareness of the dream.
Mm-hmm.
And as an awareness of the dream, I see all that's going on and what's happening. And I think, to me, that helps me understand this whole idea. And in deep sleep, beyond the dream state, we're in that state that we call the non-dual state. We're aware. Most people get into the deep sleep, but they're not aware that they're in deep sleep. When you're aware you're in deep sleep, you realize it's peace, happiness, joy. It's all the things that we talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that at least for me, when I crossed over, I could experience as words all of that in that one moment of being disassociated from everything else. It was totally peace. It's something hard to describe. And in fact, I should shut up because I don't know what to do with it.
It's interesting being disassociated in the, let's say, astral plane is a good thing, but being disassociated in the human plane we are living now is not a good thing, because then you detach from the idea and from the living in the idea of oneness. And this, I think, the difference creates hate and violence. And
the difference for me is that there's a point at which you're still involved in the illusion, in the dream. You're still involved in the dream when you go into the astral plane. The objective, so to speak, of non-duality is not that. You're not any of that. You're the whole of it. There's no longer a separate experience of any of it. So the idea is, I am it all. When we cross over and we're in the astral plane, we're that thing in the astral plane. So to see what I'm saying as a difference?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But is there self-awareness in both places?
Yes.
I thought so too. I thought you suggested earlier there wasn't, but you have to get that you're the one observing it.
You can actually move into the astral plane. And in fact, I'll give you a quick example of it. I did a clearing at a home here, and I used an old Tibetan process, and you use sage, and you do a clearing of the energy.
Right.
And in that clearing of the energy, the astral body of the individual who inhabited that particular place, who had gone through a traumatic experience, was still there, because they couldn't find their way, so to speak, to the light. So that's what I call a ghost. It's some astral body that's trapped in this experience from the type of trauma that they had. And by using the Tibetan process, one of the things you do is you open up a channel. What I felt was, I simply said to myself, I'm opening a channel into another experience to allow you as this body to leave. And I get this chill going up my spine and right out the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
And after I completed that, I asked the owners of the place to come and see if it felt clear to them. And they walked in and said, it looked different, it felt different, it had a whole different kind of energy to it.
Mm-hmm.
So we can access different planes, and there are many yogic traditions that, you know, teach how to do those kinds of things. For me,
Those
it's
same
another
kinds of
distraction.
ceremonies are available in Native American traditions.
Oh, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
I've
So-
done that with shamans.
Let me ask you
Right.
this. So the trauma that person experienced keeps them from entering the astral in order to possibly, because I don't necessarily know the process of reincarnating again into whatever different essence it has decided to go next. But so
Right. You know,
it's trapped here in
It
this
gets trapped in this experience.
version of this essence. Yeah, this experience.
Yogananda talked about, he had talked to his teacher, his guru, and said, after he had passed, the guru came back to him and he had this conversation and he said, "Why have you left me?" And he said, "There are many on the astral plane who need as much help as those on the physical plane."
That's nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought,
So
wow.
we don't
that's-
achieve enlightenment on the astral plane necessarily.
Automatically. Yeah.
That's right.
It's like, phew, I'm out of
they
here.
explained that the physical universe is the size of the head of a pin inside of the astral universe.
Okay.
And there are multiple physical planes in that experience. And then the astral plane and so on and so on. It's interesting reading. There's a great book. I forget the name of it now. What was it called? And it was a man who had sat with a teacher who filled him in on all of this information, and then he took and wrote a book about it. And I got to meet him, and it was quite enlightening, all of the things that he talked about, and very similar to what some of the other teachers talked about. So the idea of reincarnation and non-duality and duality and all of these are fascinating topic and probably could go on for another year or two.
Yeah.
Well, okay, lifetime or two.
No doubt.
We've come to
And still be
50
unanswered, by the way.
Still, yeah. And we'll keep coming back till we get the answer.
Yeah,
All right.
that's right.
Boy, that's a
Millennium.
commitment.
No.
Yeah,
I take that back. I take that back. I don't want to do that.
You want to stay that long? Okay, I got it.
No. I don't want the astral plane either. I want to go direct.
That's your
Are there
ego.
Are there any flights direct?
Yes, that's your ego.
Yeah. So I don't think we'll draw a conclusion to any of this.
Oh,
because
No, but
it's
we had a great
unnecessary.
conversation, didn't we?
But it was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Jay, it was great having you on this with us.
Oh,
Thank you for taking the time to do this.
Thank you.
Yeah,
no,
I think
it's
we'll have
great.
to
I
do
love this
more
stuff.
of this. I think the idea of getting multiple perspectives is good and bad.
Yeah.
Why? Because
Especially-
somebody has to be wrong?